So, first of all, before we go into the outlook, let me go ahead and talk about a few concepts and answer a few questions. So, I'm talking about this type of PA where you see a lot of volatility forming. All right. Now, when you're getting this type of volatile environment, usually, and of course, you're not trending to the upside or to the downside, you're usually getting some compression forming. So, on compression, on such volatile moves, you can get some pretty good RR trades with shorting the high holds and longing the low holds until this breaks to either side. So let's go ahead and see what happened here. First of all, as I said before, we swept the lows here, held the lows, this low, and once we started breaking above, it was a good long into these highs. Now, as you can see here, we didn't break the high, so this is considered to be a high hold as soon as we started breaking lower. Again, high hold into the lower time frame. Let's go into 1 minute. So here I would be not here. Here I would be looking at first for shorts, but as soon as I saw the rejection here and the lower high that was being made into a point of interest, right? Because here we have like an order block, along with some gaps, etc., etc. And if you go into yes, this is a market structure break, and I will go ahead and tell you right now, but let me. All right, here we have a higher time frame POI, and once we get the high hold, actually the second high hold after the market structure break, the break of structure, tell it as you like, it was a pretty good entry for shorts. But after that, what you wanted to see was a break of this low along with a continuation on breaking the lows. If you saw here, let me delete this. If you saw here price coming into here and here, okay, and it held the lows, we did something like this, I would close my short and not clip long, but just wait to see what happens. So give me a second, guys, sorry. So yeah, this is a market structure break. Yeah, 1 minute time frame is the most powerful to see the reversal, honestly. You can front run by a lot the entries you might want to see. So yeah, this was a market structure break because this was the low that led to the break of structure, to the last break of structure. That's why I would consider this as a market structure break. All right, always you need to focus on the low or the high that broke structure lastly. All right, so once we're done with this, and since we're done with this, let's go ahead into the outlook. First of all, let's start off with the daily. Or no, let's go ahead and watch the weekly first. So, history is being made. We had the highest weekly close that we've ever seen on Bitcoin. But as you can see, it is followed by a weekly open reversal. In my opinion, this is huge. The weekly close right into 107k, almost 106 point something, and this can form like a small reversal here for a continuation higher as a first thought. Of course, this can reverse the whole thing to the downside into this POI, etc., etc., but we shall see how this develops. Now, going into the daily, again, had a pretty high close, and I think it's the highest daily close as well. Yeah, it's the highest daily close as well, because here we didn't close this high at the 106.5 something. So here, as you can see, we have some lows into the daily. What would be the most beautiful, I would say, setup? Sweep these lows into reclaim of some levels we will talk about later, and relong to target higher. A complete trap, in my opinion, would be a sweep of these lows into rejection here on some sort of POI that will be formed, and reverse the whole thing, because this is some sort of distribution being formed. Also Quasimodo, if you remember Richard, something like that. Now let's go into the 4-hour chart. In the 4-hour chart, here we can see some pretty clean highs and lows. Let me hide these. So we can see some solid range being formed from these weeks. We swept one side. In my opinion, we will go for the other side as well, because we have some pretty clean lows and some pretty massive liquidity to being formed right around here. So again, what I would expect would be a sweep into reclaim for a continuation higher. Now let's add to that our composites. So let's go into the 1-hour time frame. Okay, so here we have this range, this external range, along with our internal value that has been formed with our internal composite, the 10-day value as it is for now. What I'm expecting, first of all, on the lower time frame, acceptance below here should lead to a rotation towards 10-day Vajira high, Vajira low. Sorry, why am I tapping? Now here we have a POI. The POI is, as I said, on these volatile moves we can have some high and low holds, so this can be as an order block, not a valid one, but can be considered as an order block for a bounce not for higher but for a move towards this POI. So this can form again until it breaks. Now a bounce here would be a pretty good play for a rotation towards 10-day Vajira high on lower time frame. On higher time frame, best case scenario in my opinion would be a rotation lower here with some slow grind forming to target these lows. Once we come into these lows, I would expect for a bottom to form around here into reclaim of 3-month Vajira high for a move higher. If you remember, this can also be a range before continuation setup, which we have talked about quite a lot of times. For example, here we have formed a range. Alright. We have swept highs. Now we're going to sweep the lows. for a continuation higher. So the fact that we swept first the highs can be a pretty good signal that we're going higher. Now, this is the main scenario that I'm looking at for longs. For shorts, of course, if we start breaking lower from here and here, and we come into a retest around here, I would be looking for shorts. If we reject around here, again, basically this will lead to a massive move lower. Here we also have some values. First of all, the 3-month value. So acceptance below the 3-month value area high should lead to a move towards the 3-month value area low. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We will see how it will develop. My main scenario is being a bull into a sweep and a reclaim here. So I'm looking to long quite a lot into this reclaim. Now let's add our VWAPs into the game. So yearly VWAP aligns with our main scenario, which is a sweep of these lows. Sweep of these lows into value area high, reclaim above, pretty good trigger for longs. If we start to accept below value area high, then of course I would be looking for shorts towards yearly VWAP and maybe even lower yearly value area high. That's simple. Now let's go into our quarterly VWAP. So here, along with the 3-month value, we also have the quarterly value, which is sitting around 101.5. So sweep the lows into a top of quarterly value area high, developing quarterly value area high, into a reclaim previous quarter value area high, should lead to a move way higher. This is like perma bullish setup, and I would be looking to max long this once again. Now, the bearish scenario would be acceptance below here, failure to reclaim above would lead to a massive move towards developing quarterly VWAP, sorry, and maybe even feel the full rotation towards the previous quarter value area low at 86k. So yeah, pretty crucial to what happens into the sweep of these lows. For the monthly, is this the monthly? No, this is the monthly. I don't have a lot to comment since we're basically ranging into value area high, so nothing really happens. But if we sweep these lows into monthly VWAP, could be another good signal for longs, because this is showing some sort of momentum. On the weekly, I'm focusing more on the composite that has been formed around here, the 10-day composite. So not really much to comment on the weekly VWAP. So yeah, these are the main scenarios. These are the main things I'm looking at. Patience for this long setup to form. If this was a real proper breakout, it would have been a very strong volume, right? Like multiple green candles. Yeah, if this was a proper breakout, it would basically be After this bounce from the composite value high, this shouldn't break the lows again and start slow grinding higher and higher. If this happened, we would long the breakout, but as you saw, just swept the highs and reversed to the downside. Pretty difficult to trade in my opinion, this sweep, as it swept firstly the external range and then swept again these highs, but we could have got some scalps if I was online during this time. So yeah, this wasn't a proper breakout, and much better in my opinion, because proper breakout wouldn't leave these lows untouched. So yeah, let me end the stream and no, the stream, the recording.